everybody. First off, I'd like to apologize for the coffee being cold, and thank you for to the, the person that discovered that the coffee was cold. So hopefully the blue button is on, and you can please take advantage of the fact that we have a little bit of a notch, and hopefully we'll have coffee soon. Thank you very much for coming today. I know it's a tough time of year. Everybody's dedicated to the holidays, so thank you for making the time to come to PIC. And again, just to let everybody know, again, and the links are on the back. Don't forget that we have a Twitter now, and we also have a, thanks to Chris, we have a page on the district site as well that is constantly updated and has active links to all the agendas and the videos, which I haven't looked at yet because I don't want to. But anyhow, so please take advantage of these new social media forays that we've discovered, and also please share them with your parent-teacher organizations. And we're trying to get more traffic, especially to the Twitter page. So anyhow, and thank you very much for coming again, and we'll turn it over to Mrs. Gillette.
Hi, sorry, I thought Dr. George was getting up to present. So I'm Mrs. Gillette, or Kristen Gillette, just call me Kristen, from the Courtney Rose Foundation, and I have fantastic, wonderful, awesome news for you guys because, wow, remember we were saying 10,000 we were going for? The total raised this year for Courtney's Cash for a Cure is $12,890. So almost amazing. Thank you all so much. Unbelievable. I felt like this year we really, the kids understood more the kids helping kids concept. I feel like this year they really were engaged with that. Yeah, I've been going around to schools, and if I haven't contacted you and your principal, I will be to do the trophy for the winning classes. I have to tell you that amazing River Plaza raised over $2,500 by themselves. Unbelievable. It's really a great. And they did a really cool thing where they did a bulletin board, and they had the 5th graders use it as a math lesson. So they made a jar for each homeroom, and then they had quarters one color, nickels, dollars, whatever, one color, and then they put all the coins every week. They would update the class totals in this jar on this bulletin board, and it was really cool. So it was really nice that they integrated it into learning for these 5th graders who were very excited about this. The other school that really did phenomenal, well, there were a couple, but Nut Swamp did almost 2,000. So right behind River Plaza. And New Monmouth, wow. They really, over 1,100, and that is a huge increase from last year. So thank you all. And I just want to wish you all a very happy holiday, and thank you so much for your support. If anybody ever has questions about the research or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me through our website or whatever. So if you want to get involved, let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, her son's class won in his.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Mrs. Gillette. All right. So now we're going to move on to school security with Dr. George and Mrs. Walker.
Yes, I think there was a question as it related to Bay Shore, and without speaking in specifics, I think it's important to note that the issue at Bay Shore stemmed from a social media post, which was basically a rumor. And so I think then from there was an inundation by the police department. The police department was inundated with phone calls and stuff like that. There was a response that put out there. But it came back to questions as it related to issues at Bay Shore. But at Bay Shore, there was not even a non-credible threat until Tuesday night when there was a social media post by a student. So, and then within an hour, there was a post to the school community. So I think that we worked diligently with the police department. We also had a lot of feedback and looking at how we did, what we did, and we always look for our takeaways. But all in all, an hour response time to a student on a Tuesday night post on social media is pretty quick. And I really want to thank the administration at Bayshore, Mike Scarano and Mike Gannon, for the work that they did, and also for the work that the police department did with us to help clarify the information. So, are there any other questions on that?
Okay. All right, and now we're going to turn it over to Chris, the man on the other side of the camera, to talk about...
Come on this side.
Yes. To talk about updates. And just so you folks know, this was because a lot of folks complained that the orientation of the district website when you're on your cell phone is impossible to... Not having a cell phone that is a smartphone, I don't know anything about it, but evidently there's a quorum of folks that feel like it just doesn't work. So I believe that's where gathering some input from parents and working diligently to solve that.
Yes, so I just wanted to give an overview, kind of just a couple of things that we've done so far. We're still working on the orientation on our cell phones. I've used it before. It's a little difficult, putting it lightly, so working with our provider, our host, Blackboard is the organization that we use. So still in the process of looking at that, working with them, and trying to get it to where we need it to be in this day and age. I just wanted to give just a couple of updates. Trying to turn our website into more of a useful tool, hub of information for and use it and find what they're looking for, make it a little bit easier for everyone to navigate. Just a couple of things that we've done to try to move some important information out front. Like we've done on our homepage. We've always had our important messages scrolling that goes to all 17 school websites as well as our district websites. So any sort of breaking news, any sort of big major announcements district-wide will go there. But we also, if you move down the page, we have our school section. So this is more of news. We have district-wide fundraisers. If we have new educational initiatives and partnerships, if we're having events, things like that will be featured here. The events can also be found on our calendar, which is below this section. So this is sort of one of the things we've done to try to bring some more information out front. Below this on our homepage, more headlines and happenings. This is another information section that people can find. Right now we have strategic planning for number 3 presentation. That's up there, you can certainly look at it. But that's the type of information that's going to go here, more informational type of selections. As you can see, we have our recent school calendar survey is up there. District newsletter goes up, a new one each week can be found there. It's an easy way to link to it. And actually, I'm going to step behind here. As Ms. Rafferty had noted, one of the things we've done to try to promote what's going on with these meetings, with this group, is our new pick page that we have. So if you go to our district website and you go to parents, it's the first option underneath here. It's Parent Information Committee. As she mentioned, kind of gives an overview of what the role is here, role and responsibilities, what we do here. We also have the history of the purpose of it, and to the right here we have the meeting schedule. Linked below here, the agenda, the minutes, and the meeting videos can be reviewed for anybody who wants to. They'll be up there, hopefully forever archived. So you can go back and look at it. We also have the administrative role as well, and the latest video is actually at the bottom of the page. If you just click down and review things, go back, bring it to your various groups, and share with them what has happened here. So that's kind of what's going on with this page, which is exciting. But one of the things I wanted to use this opportunity for was to reach out to the group, and maybe we can speak afterwards if you don't want to do it right now. I don't want to take too much time. You can reach out to me by email. You can reach out to me, Ms. Rafferty. Just get in touch with me if you have ideas of how we can work together to improve the site. Let me know what you need up here, what kind of information you would like to have. maybe it's something that's there and you want it a little bit easier to access, we can bring it out front. We just want to make things easier and as accessible as possible. So that's one of my roles here, and I'm happy to help any way I can. So let's talk, let's work together, collaborate, and make this the best tool that we can for the entire district.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it because I couldn't even get to anything on my cell phone. I just checked and at least I can get to the menu.
Yeah, no, where that is something we are definitely working on. I mean, cell phones are what we're using right now. We have to meet the audience where they are. So it's something that's kind of an ongoing process. We had a redesign, I think about 2 years ago. So it's something that we need to address, especially the cell phone aspect of it all. So it's something that we're working on.
I think it's awesome that the minutes are also being included. I didn't realize that, so that's great. I know historically we each individually had to go to our school kind of PTA webmasters to hand them the minutes for them to post. So moving forward, are we all being directed to just point to this page?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the agenda is fluid, so what happens is the link to the agenda is living. So if it's, whether it's the preliminary or the final.
Okay.
As soon as Chris puts a link up to an agenda, it'll either be the one that's the final one, or it's the one that's the preliminary one, so that is helpful as well.
Okay.
Otherwise, what I was doing was having to download it and send it as an email attachment.
No, this
But,
is great.
Yeah, if folks are all aware now that they can simply go there for the agenda, it'll save us that, that last minute possibly not getting a copy of it until you're here. So there's that too.
Thank you.
And I usually tend to receive them later in the week prior to the meeting, so a Thursday or Friday. If you wanted to check that Thursday or Friday prior to the meeting, usually we'll be up at that time, but it'll certainly be up there, the agenda, and then shortly after the video goes up in the minutes as well. So,
Thank you.
Chris, while you're there,
yes.
let's move right on to the strategic planning update and go to that on the website. So as requested in the past, the slide deck, so the information that we're going to be discussing was put up yesterday afternoon, as well as the agenda. So that's available on the website. I don't know if you had any questions on that, or yes.
I didn't actually get to go through it all, but I did look at it. I know it said Form 3A for tomorrow. Does that mean there's going to be a 3B?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pam.
Yeah. So we had a version that said Form 3A and had the breakdown for Form 3A and then 3B, but it got edited in the process. The Schoolhouse Strategies edited and then it went online and I didn't catch it. So 3A is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be 7 p.m. at High School North, and what we're going to do is we're going to focus on those mission, values, and beliefs that we came up with from the last forum. And from that, we're going to focus on the 2 to 3 hot button topics like enrollment challenges, like class size. Special education comes up a lot in the comments. I'm reading through these 10,000 comments. We're seeing a lot of that. Equity, funding with the budget, how we get the money to fund what we need to. Those are going to be the kinds of discussions that we'll be having, but I've taxed Dr. George and his team with so much. I've asked so much of them for the public because you've had so many questions, which is wonderful. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of slides, there's a lot of information, and they've been wonderful. They've given us everything. So we're going to really dive in tomorrow night, but there's no way we're going to be done. So after the holidays, we figure because these are like hot button issues and there's a lot of emotions involved, we'll take a break over the holidays and then we'll invite you to a Forum 3B. We don't have the date set or anything because we won't know what we'll be discussing until we get through 3A, and the public will kind of lead us and guide us to what 3B will entail and what research and data we need from Schoolhouse Strategies and from the administration to facilitate that conversation in 3B. So that's the plan.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Sorry, it's still me.
Yeah.
So would 3B then be the discussion of here are the things we could do and what they would cost and how they would impact the district, et cetera? Or would that be like even beyond 3B? To kind of list out, here's what we could do, and let's talk about the pros and cons and the costs and impacts and all that to kind of narrow down where the district needs to
A
change?
general concept, but cost is difficult, right? Because we're not sure exactly how much something is going to cost. But what we can say is, if we did say this, what are the other things we'd have to do that would cost money? When we talk about long-range planning, we talk about, would we need to do a transportation audit? Would we need to do a demographic study? If we did X, would we need to do those 2 studies? And how much approximately do they cost? We can discuss things like that. We can discuss what people have done in other towns and other districts. And, we can certainly look that up. There's only a few districts that are as large as ours to compare. But we can certainly have that information in front of us so that the public has a good idea of what is on the table, of what we can do. It's important to understand that inaction is not an option anymore, and that's something that the public needs to understand, that we have to do something. We have to do something to decrease our footprint, or our children will suffer down the line, years from now. We don't want to end up in the position where we're not properly funding our district. So we have to make some difficult decisions, and I think it's important for everybody to be in on the discussion. I know there's a rumor around that we already did it, it's a done deal. Totally not true. We are going through this process, and I think that it ruins the integrity of the process for that rumor to be going around. I wish it wasn't, but I just, wish everyone would understand that you don't need to sign a petition on Facebook. Come to the meetings. Email us at strategicplanning, right, at middletownk12.org, and be part of the discussion now, because right now we're only in the information gathering stage. That's all we're doing right now. We haven't made a decision. At the end of the day, we will make a decision. How we get to that decision is even up for discussion. Either the board will vote it, maybe it'll end up on the ballot in November when you go to vote. There's so many different options, and we are very open-minded. We're open to any of these options. We just want the best for the kids. Yeah.
So the 3B meeting is just more gathering more information from
Right. More information from 3A and examples of things that were done in other districts.
And I want to say, if you look at the slide deck, right? So there's purposefully there's things that we're going to focus on, right? So finance, facilities are part of that as they relate to that. Transportation is part of that. So we're doing a deeper dive on those topics. Enrollment, we're doing a deeper dive on that. Assessment, we're doing again. And then special education at the request of school strategies and important.
Social emotional.
We're doing well. Yeah, we're really, when we look at assessment, we look at special education, we're really looking at overall student success. So whether we're talking about tiered intervention, social emotional learning, or special education, that's all part of student success, just like assessment is. So that's really the way that we're going to approach that in the data that we're handing out and the discussions that we're going to lead on that. And the administrative team will be leading that discussion and then taking questions and input from the board.
Something I found really interesting speaking to the administration is that when we talk about social emotional learning, we talk about anti-bullying, you're talking about a curriculum, right? A new social studies curriculum that could cost up to $900,000. That's not something I thought of as a mom, and so if we come at it from that angle, saying how would we address these issues, how much does everything cost? I think it's helpful for the community to understand where we're at and where the budget is. If you come to the budget meetings, you see there's not a lot of extra money floating around for things. So it does get to the point where you have to make difficult decisions. Yeah.
So Pam, you just said that we have to decrease our footprint. What does that mean? Are we physically, is that kind of where we're going, that we need to, that the decisions that are made moving forward are going to be within a framework that we have to decrease the number of facilities, or is that still open?
It's open.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all open to discussion. But we do have an inequity, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have overcrowded schools on the south sending, and then we have under-enrolled schools on the north sending. So we are being inefficient on the north sending schools. We need to address that. We need to be honest with ourselves and say, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this?
So what does this decrease our footprint mean then? It just
Financial.
Financial.
Just financially?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to get it, tighten it up. right? Tighten up that budget like you do at home. Okay, yeah.
One thing I know that just based on reading Facebook comments or people come up and ask questions, I think there's a general concern among the people of Middletown that they're not going to get a chance to voice an opinion on whatever options are put on the table. I think everybody now is reacting to hypotheticals and saying, oh, I don't want banding because of this, or I don't want this because of that, but it's not like we even know what the options are. So I'm just requesting, I guess, that once we get past the holidays, whatever is being considered, there be an opportunity for folks to get up to a microphone and say, here's what I think a pro of this would be, or here's what I think a con of this would be, so that while obviously you guys have to figure out what the best approach is given a lot of other factors, that at least the parent feedback opportunity for specific real options happens. I think during the survey we reacted to maybes and with not a lot of details. Good guiding thing, but it wasn't like, here's one proposal, we would ban the schools this way. Here's another proposal, we would, create magnet schools or whatever.
Yeah.
I think people need that opportunity to speak up on specifically what is on the table so that they feel that they have a chance to relay their feedback. I think that's the general feeling I'm getting from just reading Facebook comments that I know you guys don't always see, and honestly, it would take you forever to go through them.
I know, right? I'm too busy reading comments from the survey. They're very good. But that's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, because in Forum 3A and Forum 3B, at the end, there will be public comment. So that'll be helpful. And then I asked Dave Hesby about that, because you had asked that at Forum 2. And he said what you can do then is you can have a hearing where you have 2 different plans, 3 different plans.
Good.
And you present them to the public comments. They have a week to email you, tell you what they think. You take that into consideration, and then you can vote.
Okay.
But like I said, there's always that option dangling that we could put it on the ballot and have 65,000 members of the community just vote on it too. I've seen that done before in schools, and I think that's fair because it's a huge decision. And it affects all of us. It affects even people, I had a grandma ask me at my son's hockey tournament this weekend, what's going on with the grade banding? And I was like, your kids don't even go to public schools. Like, her grandkids go to Catholic school. I'm like, how do you know about this? So I mean, it's great that people know that we're having these meetings, but it kills me that people think that we would go behind their back and just come up with a plan without taking the process seriously, because we really are. Yeah.
I appreciate the comment about not having an option for inaction, and I think people need to understand also that all of these options were in the strategic plan 5 years ago.
Yes.
There were specific action steps that talked about alternate school structures, talked about additions, talked about, it was there. It was there.
And it's still
It was
online.
decided not, it's online. It was decided not to be looked at, I guess, but you need to see what's out there when you're in this sort of financial situation. And maybe it'll be a quick, this isn't gonna work because we're too spread out, then it's checked off the list. But something, you need to look at the options, and I appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah, we can't be afraid to act because one part of the community is upset about something. We need to do what's best for all the children in the district. And I think the board members take that very seriously. So we've got a good crew.
And keeping in mind, it's very easy for people that have neurotypical kids that have that firmness that their child cannot be moved. And then you have children in the special ed. I believe it was the year after, the community went crazy about the redistricting plan, which I'm not sure I would have voted for it either. But, the next year, how many classes in Navasink got moved to make room, So you have a friend of ours that went through his 3rd elementary school with special needs, So those are the sorts of things. It's nice to be in our own little bubble and make sure our own little kids are protected, but there are a lot of other issues in this district. I think people need to have a broader view than just my little home turf.
Yeah, one of my dear friends got up at one of the forums and she said, my daughter goes to River Plaza, but my son goes to Bayview. He's in a special program, and both schools are wonderful, and we love both of them. And I think that that's a really good point, is that our special ed community gets moved around all the time, and they're doing fine, and we can keep our mind open to that.
Well, I won't say they're doing fine. That's it's very tough thing on a child to be uprooted, which is why the parents of the neurotypical kids don't want it to happen to their kids. But I'm just saying it shouldn't be on their backs all the time to move. And this is something this administration inherited, right? Because that had happened a long time ago as well. well. So,
And that's a good point when we're talking about, if we talk about moving children, right? Maybe not move the special ed community again, maybe, do something different. These are good points.
well, I think maybe the decision needs to be if a class or something has to be moved to make room, it's not just special ed. Everybody moves then. Why is it always that group? And that's the commitment, a commitment. I mean, quite honestly, if I had my druthers and it was on the last action plan, I would start at a ground zero, because all of those classes have been so pushed to one side of town that, you can't even get them near their communities at this point. So I think there's a lot of, different issues that need to be looked at, so.
And they are bused quite far, so when we talk about
Very
busing,
far.
we are busing children
Yeah.
far away. When people talk about transportation costs, we are already spending money on transportation. Yeah, so that's a good point. Anybody else have anything? This is good discussion. I'm glad we're having this open discussion. It's important.
Good.
Okay, I was going to save this to the end of my little section, but since it's strategic planning, I'll say it now. I guess I've been participating in the process, and I've been feeling rather hopeful about the whole situation, even though we face, obviously incredible financial challenges going forward. I just see that we're at a point where we have a lot of opportunity to really kind of strengthen our communities and try to come together to figure out solutions going forward. And I'm kind of glad to see that things are slowing down and that the public participation is being considered and, trying to be included in that process more so. And, it's just been really inspiring to see parents get up and have the courage to, share their challenges. And I'm glad those voices are being heard. And again, I really see this as an opportunity to figure out how we can do things better and, more effectively as a whole for a district.
That's a good way to see it, a positive. Yeah, I try to think of it as positive too. Because this is good. It's good to hear what everybody's thinking and not to be afraid. And tell us what you're thinking, because we are listening. I promise we are.
Right, and it's going to take some hard discussions, and and we really do need to listen to each other and try to find solutions that work for the whole.
Yeah, and have patience with each other and not blame each other. And just come to a solution together.
Yep.
It would be nice. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Yep, and I think we've heard too from a lot of parents that inclusion is a big priority. So just want to put that on the table.
Yes, that's part of our special ed discussion, inclusion. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. If there are no other comments, we'll move forward. Oh, the coffee's ready? Yeah, almost. It seems like it's hot in the cafeteria.
Oh, you know what? I just have one more thing on strategic planning. Mr. Ornella organized babysitting, so you can tell your parents if they need a babysitter, there will be a babysitter there in the morning from the YMCA too.
And do we have a date for the 3B? Is 3B already?
We don't have anything for 3B yet. It'll be after the holidays though.
Oh, so January?
January, February.
Okay.
Depending on what comes out of it, the reason it hasn't been said, depending on what comes out of it, this goes back to what we've been saying all along. We're doing this as a 2-year process, or however long it takes, not a 1-year process, so that we do go slow enough to get everything in. You'll see, as a matter of fact, Dave Hasby said, he's never seen so much information prepared. And I want to thank the Central Office Administrative Team for putting that together. We've all worked diligently and put a lot of time in to do that. We're going to continue to need to do that. We see that, student success was a big discussion under the comments, so it's an area that we're hitting on this, as well as the financial piece, another area we're hitting. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to get all that information available. So first we want to know what it is that the community's reaction is to the information that we prepared and the discussion that Schoolhouse Strategy and the board will be leading, along with the support of the administrative team. And then how much time we need to continue that discussion and make sure you have the information you need for us to move forward and have our next forum. So that's kind of where we are with that. Yes?
And you might have said it in forum too, but access, or I know there are a lot of comments, but access or a summary of the comments, is that going to be available to
going to be discussed as part of this forum.
The comments from the survey,
Yeah.
the 10,000 comments,
Yeah.
they're on, we have them on the portal now that we've been reading. I don't think we put them on the
And there's
website.
there's going to be discussion led by Schoolhouse Strategies
Okay.
on those comments.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that Mr. Husky did say if the public wanted to look at them, he welcomed it. But I don't know how they get to it.
Okay, we'll take that back to.
I thought something was said, I couldn't recall, but I didn't know how that was gonna, if there are common threads or themes or,
That stuff is.
Yeah.
Oh, the trends, yes, the trends from, that's on there. That's Forum 2
For
Strategic
the
Planning
comments.
Survey Trends. You see it right there? Yeah, if you click on that, you see.
The comments, because it was comments. Not like Facebook comments, those don't.
So we'll take that discussion further back to them. So then, I guess then where we are next is discussion on the development of the school calendar process. So give a little historical background. Normally what we do is we come together with a community, with a community committee that has usually 2 parents. Parent Information Committee is represented on that by Margie. And at the last meeting, we were going to have our calendar committee prior to this meeting, and it was suggested by Joan and the board that we wait on that. We all said that's a great idea, so we waited on that. And then as I was thinking, what else could we do to get community feedback? That's when Chris and I sat down and developed the survey, and we put out a survey. We're actually getting very good response to the survey. Chris, I think we're right. We're approaching 1,000, right? Somewhere around.
As of this morning, we're approaching 1,500.
1,500. Just 2 days ago, we were at 800. Then we were at 1,000, and now we're at 1,500. So that's great. So that kind of changed the process for us. Normally, what we do is we come in with a draft calendar into that committee meeting. But prior to, and we were going to do that for that committee meeting, but changing the process the way we have, we thought it would be, before we really develop a clear draft, to talk about the process and the changes with the bargaining units, which we did. And then before we develop this, let's see, we'll have the rest of this week and next week to get more feedback from the community, and then we'll take that information and we'll develop what will be a starting point calendar. We don't really get the draft calendar until after we come out of the committee. Because the committee they're charged with developing a draft. We take that draft, sometimes we use 1 or 2 versions for starting points to come in there. We never come out of that saying, okay, we're just gonna take this one. So it's not, we don't go in with a draft, we go in with a starting point. We come out with a draft that then we bring to the board. But so we, the board will review that process and where we are, and all the, the survey data. And then we'll come up in January, sometime in January. The goal is for that committee to come together in January and discuss the community input and to give the unions the opportunity also to provide feedback to staff, parents. So we really wanted, before we did that, to bring it here, and then that just, from there we went, hey, how can we help you get further information? And that's when we came up with the survey, Chris and I. So do we have any thoughts on that? Yes?
Hi there, I'm from Village, just sitting in today. One of the things that came up with the survey was some people were clicking save instead of done or submit, and when they went back to look at their survey, they couldn't do it again. They were having trouble. So is that what they were doing wrong? They were hitting save instead of?
Yes, if you hit save, it'll send you a message. I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out why. It seems to be a glitch with our host, the website host, but I'm trying to figure out why that's happening. If you hit save, it will not actually save your answers, but you can go back out to the link. You can fill it out. The same answers. Fill it out again. It will not block you from that. And then you can say done. I'm sorry, hit done, and it will submit.
Okay, go over that again, because they said that they did the survey and then they were blocked from doing it again. So could you just go over that again?
So if you could do the survey, there are 3 options at the bottom. I don't know why
Yeah.
they decide to put three
Yeah,
options at the
it's
bottom of their surveys, but that's the way that it's designed by our host. Three options. The first one is done, the second one is save, and the last one is cancel. Just avoid cancel. We don't want to do that. But if you hit save, it will send you a message that essentially says, you have already submitted your survey. You can't do it again, essentially, which is not true. So some people have taken that as, well, this is a fire with a stone wall. We can't get past it. But if you go back out, if you get the initial link, if you click the link, whether it was in whether it was on our homepage, whether it was in the newsletter, Facebook, it will let you back in because you have not actually submitted your survey from that device. So you can fill it out. Once you get down to the bottom, hit done, and that will submit officially your survey results. So it will not block you, even though the message says that. I'm working on that. I don't know why it's appearing like that. People are still trying to figure that out. Yeah, don't have no fear. Just go back to the link. It will let you back in, and hit done instead of save, and it will officially submit.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
When are you going to close that out?
Toward the end of December.
Okay.
You know, so we can move forward with it in January.
Okay.
This week and next week, definitely. The next 2 weeks. Yeah, have plenty of time. And obviously, it's getting really good.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused. For November recess and the fall elementary conferences, it asks should be included in calendar. What's the other choice?
Not including it in
No, but like, no.
Yeah,
Well, obviously, but what does that mean?
Yeah, I didn't understand what that
Like,
meant.
For November, it says
It
in
says
here
in
like
the
Monday
beginning.
and Wednesday would be added back. So in here, it's saying like November,
Right.
it's saying the district
Alright.
would be open Monday and Wednesday of that week if
And
Tuesday's election day.
the other piece about that is the clarifying points to that, so which we cover in the clarifying points. The issue, what got us to this point is the very poor attendance that has an impact on the rest of the year in a week in which you could come in on Monday, Tuesday is election day. You know, a lot of people don't understand. We, part of our shared service, we went to the town and said, could we take the schools offline in the election process? But the town made it very clear to us, there's just not enough polling places to go to do that. And in a big election, like a presidential election on November, there's not enough parking spaces in the schools for us to be in school, as well as the safety issue. Although that's different now because we do have security guards, but you still, like at Middletown High School North alone, that's not one polling place. That's 3 polling places in 3 separate areas of the school. So that's a lot of opportunity for breaching of the security system. So you would take that Tuesday offline. We would come in on Monday, we would come in on Wednesday. The teachers' convention is Thursday, Friday. So what has happened in the past is that the attendance during that week is deplorable. That for many reasons, because it's so disruptive. So the question was to address the fact that, to find out community input, how they feel about that week. So.
What about the parent-teacher conferences? Would that be just shifted to nighttime then, so that it wouldn't change the school day?
Yeah,
Like, what's the other option for
on that.
parent-teacher conferences?
Rethinking it, doing it differently. You know, we don't have conferences in middle school, in high school. Everyone always has the opportunity to request a conference. We were looking at maybe, should it be split possibly to the beginning of the year and the end of the year? But or should it just be by appointment, either by teacher or parent? But we really, that's very preliminary. We wanted to see what the feedback was with this, see what the feedback is with that, and then possibly put a committee together on the school level to see what the feedback would be from administrators, teachers, and parents. If this survey so indicated, a change would be welcome. I think one of the reasons we really looked at it too is because thinking that, you know, for parents in the workforce, which many of our parents are, that in most businesses, the week of Thanksgiving is a big disruption. right? And then the week after that, you have half days for your kids. So, you know, we've heard in the past, you know, discussion about that causes a hardship for working parents. So we were thinking about, hey, how could we possibly do that differently? And hence the reason for us putting that question.
Gotcha.
But first we wanted to hear what the overall, you know, response was from the community on that, to see if maybe we needed to put a committee together of parents and teachers and administrators and support staff. We don't even know that yet.
Yeah, that's
You know?
helpful because I know when I push this out to our Facebook page, people are going to say, well, what does that mean? And telling them, well, this is, maybe it becomes optional as opposed to a whole week of mandatory early dismissals. Then I can explain this to them. Thank you.
So I participated in 8 of these meetings, you know, this will be my 9th. And so I just, when I developed the survey, that was really what I was thinking about, the things that have come up from parents, from staff, from everyone in the past, from stakeholders, and what it is we need to consider and possibly just doing it better any way we could.
I was just gonna say, like, when I filled out the survey for that question, I put disagree, that I don't think it needs to be the full week, but it doesn't mean that I don't think we shouldn't have conferences. So I think that's like something that needs to be taken into consideration, because the question is kind of tough, because there's more to it than just it being there or not being there.
We agree. And our next step would be committee if there's a significant amount of people that disagree. And that's consistent with what we've heard in the past, so that makes sense. So you 3 in the back, start from the left, go to the right, and go from the
So I'm new to the school district, and my school district was much, much smaller. And they had more students in each grade in the actual school, and their conference days were half days, but done at 12:30, and they were only for 2 days. So I have to say, I truly struggled for an entire week of why are they out when there's only 45 kids in his entire grade. So it's just an honest piece of feedback. For 10 minutes, because in our school district, we had 15 minutes of conference too. So there was, you know, just a little bit more play there.
Other reason why we thought about the scheduling, either from teacher or from parent, you know, reaching out for the schedule. Giving that opportunity throughout the course of the year, so it fit best with the students' you know, individual parent schedule, and where the student is in the learning process at that time of year, rather than just always at this one time. You know, as opposed, excuse me, to having time in the fall and having time in the spring, or both if you need it.
Right. I don't even know where the survey is. Can you tell me where I would find it?
Yeah. Right on.
It's on our homepage of our website. It is on our Facebook page. It's on our Twitter account. It is in our district newsletter that should be sent out to every parent, teacher, administrator in the district.
Is everybody here getting the newsletter?
Yeah. It's on the agenda too. I mean, this
Or you can click right on the agenda.
If
you follow the school district on Facebook, it was posted on Facebook, and then you can share it to your individual Facebook sites as well.
Which I think really helped us get people participating too. That's great, thank you. One more.
Yeah, I'm filling in for Denise Thompson. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're questioning taking the Monday and Wednesday of that week in November. And you're questioning whether to do the half days. Has anyone considered taking that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that week, bring the teachers in for those 3 days, and make those the conferences, and then you put the 2 together and you're all done?
Everything's on the table.
Because then you don't have parents with half days, and you have a rationality for taking those 2 days then.
Everything's on the table. Thank you. Good thought. Yes.
Just, I'm filling in for Denise Thompson, otherwise just to clarify, because I think it's an important point of the survey, on to Hope's point, if you do think the November break should be included, it's a yes, because just the way it's worded, it kind of, you could think, should it be included? I don't know the exact wording, but it was a little unclear.
Should be included, yes.
Yes, if you think the whole week should be off, it's yes for that answer?
Yes.
Okay. It's just a little
It's a yes.
confusing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just real quickly, I was surprised how many other school districts this year did not give that whole week off, whether it was Old Bridge, Homedale. Are they not voting?
They don't have voting.
Hotels don't vote in school.
Yeah, it's kind of unique to have the voting. I think the point was if you could get the majority of the week, 3 out of 5 days, then it would really be worth considering coming in. Less than that, we're going to be up against it when it comes to attendance. And attendance is something that is really impacted with us, with our state reporting, and so.
Because we used to do it. They did come in during school.
We
used to.
And
I know the parents, particularly in elementary school with the security, were very concerned, but I know now we have security in.
No, on the June election day, not on the November.
We never came in November?
I don't think so. Since I was a kid, I remember.
And the thought behind the June primary was that it was such a smaller turnout that we had enough. It really goes down too for them with parking spaces. That is, we've gotten a lot of negative feedback in the community that people come to vote and there's no place to park, so it's space for them.
It's required by law.
I think the township has. We sat with them. We discussed this as part of shared services. They looked at all the other polling places. Thank you to one of the world's largest volunteer fire departments, right? That we have a lot of those. But even the points that they made on that I never thought of, like accessibility for handicap parking, all of those kind of things, and just having enough of a space to actually have people come in and vote. So we discussed that. Tony Mercantanti even took us on a tour to show us what it looked like, the administrative team, Amy and I. So, it wasn't that the board didn't charge us with looking at it, they really did, and we did look at that, and we agreed with them that they just don't have the capacity of polling places. So, it's a good question. All right?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move on to Middletown Friends of Diverse Learners. We have Vera sitting in and Dr. Sappa.
All right, thank you. So first of all, we have a upcoming parent meeting on December 17th, and again, we'd like your help in getting the word out. We're trying to increase our attendance and representation at all the schools. There's a printed flyer which we're asking you to share with your schools or place it in a prominent spot in the community. Our next topic is our inclusion awareness campaign, which we've launched for this fall. And we started it out with the inclusion presentation, and we wanted to thank everybody in the district for their support in that we had a really great turnout and a lot of positive feedback on that event. We know inclusion works. 30 years of research really support it. We're posting a lot of things on our Facebook page, which we would like the PTAs to share out. We will not be directly sharing all that information out with you because we share out our events on your page for those who have let us access, and we want to respect that, but we do really want to get that message out about why inclusion is valuable and how we all need a community to make it happen and have it work well. As part of that awareness campaign too, we're screening a documentary called Intelligent Lives that we're really excited about. It's about 3 young adults with intellectual disabilities who challenge really the perceptions of intelligence as they figure out their way through high school and into the workforce. So we really hope that's an event that's attended by everybody, because that's kind of, this is kind of larger than just our school. As a society, we really need to think differently about how we can include and embrace these people as part of our communities. So I think that's it. I'm trying to think other.
I just had a quick question on the documentary. Is it something that you think is kid appropriate? Like, what ages could see it?
I think it'd be appropriate for like high school.
Okay.
High school students. I still need to see it myself. I've seen the trailer.
Okay.
And right now, we have it tentatively planned for January 14th at the library, but we're hoping to work with the district to maybe get a venue at High School South. So that date and time might change, and once we get that information, we'll send out the flyers and information about it. Yeah, so thanks for reminding me of that. All right.
Okay, and I'll get if Heather, if you send me a PDF, I'll get the PDF of the flyer that you distributed. I'll get that out, and then I'll tweet all the information.
The other flyer once we get it. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks so much.
Not a problem. Okay, Board of Education update. Pam has already updated us many times this meeting already.
I know. You know, there was one thing though that I didn't talk about, and that's Wreaths Across America, and I have pulled it up here. So Wreaths Across America will visit the Port Mama School, named for a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, on Wednesday, December 11th, for a 10:45 a.m. program. The school is inviting all community members to line Murphy Road with American flags to serve as a greeting to the convoy escorted by New Jersey State Police and Patriot Guard Riders. So I think that's pretty wonderful. If anybody has some time to go be a part of that, December 11th. I know that a phone blast went out, because I got a phone blast about that. What else? We talked about the calendar committee. We talked about the strategic plan. That's it. You know, we got a lot of positive feedback about the inclusion seminar as well, and Fred Baglione, am I pronouncing it right? Baglione. So that was just so positive and wonderful to hear. I had 2 or 3 board members who were able to attend. I myself was not, but I think it was a great discussion, and I'm glad that we're talking about inclusion. That's good stuff. Is there anybody have any questions about anything else?
Yeah, if I can just, I just want to say, because if this group helped, I've gone to lots of events that have been sponsored by different groups. This was so well attended. I mean, we couldn't find seats. So I'd really like to thank everybody that got the word out. I thought that was wonderful. Also, Wreaths Across America. Can we still, at one point I had read that we could stop and donate at Thorn. Can we still do that, or are we out of time? The world got away from me, and I...
Sent over. He collected all the money from the schools and everything last week. So I think
it's done.
You can still volunteer, I think, over the weekend to lay wreaths on some of the graves as well. That's also part of the wreaths.
Part of it? Okay.
I also think on the website, there's a way that you can make a donation. Not for Thorn, but Wreaths Across America.
Good point, Joe. Yep.
Can you talk about laying wreaths?
I'll find out.
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe share. Do we have a Facebook page real quick? We have that for President's Council, right?
That would be great.
We have a Facebook page.
Yeah, no, Rachel had actually suggested it, but you know, this is my first foray into social media, and right now I don't really want to have a place where people can post random things. I really needed to filter through me, so then I can filter it through the administration. That's really, and so my PIC reps are supposed to be tasked with that. They're supposed to be on the cutting edge of their parent organizations, so that any information or concern, like for instance with the Bayshore incident that we had, the idea is that there's Facebook pages, as you all know, where people vent and go crazy and absolutely lose their fill in the blank, and then there's the sanity, which is supposed to be us. So the idea is that my PIC representatives are supposed to filter out all the crap and turn it into something constructive and get that to me, which I can then get to the administration. In my opinion, there's already so many forums out there for parents to go a little nuts that I feel in order to keep the reins fairly tight, the easiest thing to do for me is to have my representatives be the ones that bring me the information, and then we filter it to the administration. So I kind of feel it kind of makes it kind of a gray area as far as what the representatives are supposed to be tasked with doing by opening up more and more social media for comment on PIC in general.
Yeah. So if Christine gets the information to you, then you can just email
exactly.
it out to
And I don't think anybody has any.
You can Google it. It's wreathacrossamerica.org, and it's December 14th. And I know my son through the Scouts has laid wreaths on the Fairview Cemetery, and I don't remember the other names, Olivet, but it's wreathacrossamerica.org. You click on volunteer, you put in your zip code, and you can go and you can help them sort, put them on veterans' grave sites.
Or as Joan said, if you wanted to, you could probably still
You
donate.
can just donate as well.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, I know an open PIC group on Facebook would probably not be a good idea. What about a closed group? I feel like this is an amazing group of people who are obviously very invested.
But that's what email's for. That, you all have my email, you know I'm responsive, as responsive as I can be. It's been a rough couple of months, but I would have to say that I'm fairly responsive to email. Again, we have, actually, there's a Facebook page that's closed for, as an example, for the President's Council that nobody posts to. So, but they're more likely to contact Danielle by emails. You see what I'm saying? So I want to keep right now, I want to keep close tabs on how the information goes from you to me to administration.
I guess I'm more speaking not just specifically when we have a comment for you, but just so this group could collaborate a little bit, and it's like an opportunity to work together better.
But that's why the agenda is what it is, and that's why I try to give you access to the agenda as much as possible, so that you're supposed to be representing your individual schools, not so much how everybody else feels. You're supposed to this forum. You're supposed to bring how your school community feels, regardless of how other school communities feel. Yeah. 20 years
Precision of language is important to you, and it wasn't.
Especially about video. So anyway, regardless of how other school communities feel, it's not necessarily that you all mesh, because remember, you're going to bring something to the table that Christine might bring in a different light. It's not my feeling that PIC is, and I've been here for a number of years now, PIC is not a place where you're supposed to mesh. It's supposed to be where you bring from your community exactly how you're feeling, and exactly how things are going where you're from. Because the administration doesn't always necessarily get that homegrown idea of how these programs are working where you are from. They may have an idea at the district level, which is more of a mesh. They may have an idea at the district level, but you're, as my PIC representative, you come to my meeting once a month and you let me know how those are working for your school community. Okay. I'm not really concerned about how, the President's Council is more of that kind of place, where there's certain programs that have a commonality, like fundraising, where it's really important for the presidents to get together. They can save money, they can share ideas and services. That's really where all of that collaboration really needs to go on, as far as parent-teacher organizations. That President's Council that Danielle runs a few times a year is really where a lot of that goes. But in my opinion, what I see PIC is for you to come to me, and on email if you have to, but once a month you come to me and you let me know how these programs are working for your school community. Whether they're working, whether they're not working, why they're not working. If you need me to reach out individually, anonymously to Dr. George, I do that. We've had a lot of the agenda items are based on emails that I get, where I send them to Dr. George anonymously and say, okay, we've had these concerns, can you address those concerns?
And I say, sure, let's do it.
Exactly. And he's never said no.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes he addresses them individually, and sometimes if he feels the broader forum is. But again, in my opinion, PIC, we need to be a little bit more of a black and white with PIC. It doesn't. If we start to make it more of a gray area, if we start to sort of unravel the wool of the sweater, then you're going to take away. I need to be able to synthesize down exactly what the actual concerns are. That is what the goal of PIC is. I always thought is synthesizing the concerns to something that we can apply across the district in general. But again, the basis of that is your feedback on how these programs are working in your community. Okay. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from as the leader of this group. Now, obviously, at some point when I'm no longer the leader of this group, that obviously can change. That focus can change. How that information is shopped around and addressed is obviously can change. But when I took over, that was my thing about how PIC should run. So anyway, that's a 45-minute answer to probably a very, very simple question from Rachel. But and that's probably the most I've ever spoken at a meeting. I think. Anyway, thank you very much.
Margie, you were talking about concerns, and I just realized we do have some concerns and questions about some of the data in the presentation, and we'll be just sending you guys an email late. We hope to kind of sort it out and get something to you this afternoon. Just one time.
Thank you.
Add that.
Appreciate that.
And old business, if you haven't put in your $10 stipend, please do. We actually we remembered the secretaries today. It's lovely to be able to remember them twice a year to thank them for all that they do for the district. New business, here's my links for Twitter and the district site. Again, Chris has offered you the opportunity if you want to give any feedback to him, to myself, on how the district site works, please let us know. If you have anybody, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I don't have a lot of retweets and stuff like that. I suppose that's important. I don't know. And our next meeting is Tuesday, January 7th. We have a couple of topics there. They're fairly hot topics. Hopefully we'll have some more information on them come January. And is there anything else? Denise?
Quick question. I've been getting a lot of comments from 6th grade parents at Bayshore that their children are having this overwhelming sense of a stress about grades and about their placements and about having to constantly go on the portal or whatever that is to find out what's going on in each class. Is this a common concern amongst all 6th grade, or is this just something that's unique to Bayshore, or is this just a new problem or phenomenon with the older kids who have access to the phones and the way this portal is set up? And if it is there any way to make it where it's not so accessible to children? Okay, I stumped you. All right, you won. No.
Well, I think that just as a middle school principal, I just think that in general, the transition from 5th grade to 6th grade is a lot. They're going from smaller schools to larger settings. Thorne, Bayshore, and Thompson are much larger settings than any of the elementary schools that we have. Then on top of that, they're moving from classroom to classroom. Then they're also given a Chromebook to be responsible for. Then then there's an increased load of homework. And then there's the Google Classrooms they need to check and things along those lines. So certainly there is an added stress. And I know that Thorne, Bayshore, and Thompson, in regards to our learning design teams that we started this year, district-wide, we're certainly looking at the social and emotional piece for students and trying to incorporate ways to reduce the amount of stress that kids are having from that transition. But that is probably in the school district the largest transition that kids will have. Usually 8th grade to 9th grade is a big transition, but not as much as a 5th to 6th. So and we're always open and looking into new ideas and ways to reduce that amount of stress and anxiety for kids. We have good.
I'm sorry. It was more on the idea of I understand the stresses you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is my 4th kid, so I get that. But the new phenomenon is the constant with the grading.
Can I address that?
I'm sorry. Oh, okay, there you are.
Just, they're going from a standards-based report card where they had no portal or anything to this new thing, this portal that they can see when their grades are being put in. So maybe that's where they're enamored, but then it also stresses them out that they can see it. So I think that's something that I can bring back to Mr. Scarano, and maybe they can think of a way to address it 6 ways, for the 6th graders, so that they don't feel that this is something they have to be on every second looking at the grades.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, is
I
there
think
a
it's
way-
the switch from the one report card to the next, and then having the accessibility to see it.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is there a way to do, like, say, middle of the marking period, the kids get to check one grade to say, like, okay, this is what we need to work on?
You know what? That's the opinion of some parents, but then other parents may want their child, because we are trying to make our children more self-directed, have their own sense of, of their goals and where they want to go, and to keep checking on them. So we may not want to block them from that. We just want to teach them how to use the tool without being too stressed out.
Okay, and
How to use it.
And how to use it to their advantage, to stay on top of it so that they know, oh my gosh, there was an assignment, I totally forgot to do that. I'm gonna go to the teacher and ask if I can still hand it in. And then, that's what we're trying to teach them, but I can see how some of them, any good thing is worth overdoing.
Exactly. But maybe it's something we could address to them. Maybe start it in 5th grade then, if you want them to not be stressed about something. I don't know. Explain it.
We have the standard-based report card.
No. I meant start explaining and working them to understand that even though, because to put it all in at 6th grade in the beginning, their head is just full, you know? And then add that, like maybe if we prepared them.
Part of transition.
Yes.
I think it's the parents.
It's the parents. It's the parents.
So my third child just entered Thompson, 6th grade.
Yeah,
My first
same
two
here.
were in high school. Most organized 2 kids I've ever seen. My third, not so much. He had like 7 missing assignments. We're like, what? So my husband gets the notifications of every grade. And then my husband's like, well, I think you should do that. And I said, okay. And I freaked out. I'm like, no. Because the teacher put in like a grade, it was like a 42 out of like 100. And I'm like, why'd you get all that wrong? My daughter, who's in high school, texted me during the day, oh, Mom, the teacher corrected it. It's 42 out of a 50. So I was freaking out. So then when he came home, I freaked out. So I think I think maybe have like a parent.
The parents.
Hey, if you're, you know, your child's going into middle school, like just like what you talked about, there's so many other stresses than grades.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it's the
And that's
parents
the
need to
thing.
be
And
educated.
like my son comes to me asking me to get him on the portal all the time and tell him his grades, and I won't do it because I'm like, look, that's not what you worry about. Did you do the work? Has the teacher complained? Have you talked about anything you had a question with? Don't worry about whether you have a 97 or a 96 or something, you know? But at lunch, apparently, it's all of them. It's very common.
It's really not all of them. It's some children will have anxiety over different things. And one of the things that I said at the beginning of the year when parents were coming, don't look on it every day. Unless you have an issue, don't do it. Because you, as the parent, are projecting your anxiety on the child. Now they feel the need to look constantly. So I mean, I have an 8th grader. She never looks. She's an honor roll student.
That's what
never
I'm
looks
saying.
at it.
Right, 8th grade.
I have a son who was not an honor roll student. He never looked at it. And I don't get the alerts every day. I used to cringe when they would come across for him once a week. Friday's fine.
I don't even look at the door. I mean, it's not.
I think it's a very important tool to make sure you're not missing assignments, and that's what I'm trying to teach my daughter. Again, this is my 3rd one too.
Right.
But I think the reaction of parents, I mean, as teachers start to put in grades, there might be a mistake, there might be a correction, there might be something missed, there might be, and there is an immediate flood onto Facebook or whatever it might be, reaction from the parents, and I can only imagine what the children are feeling. So I think a lot of it comes from the parents.
The parents in
Yeah.
this way too, not to
Yes. I just want to say that I have 3 older kids, one's done, 2 are a senior and a sophomore, and I just use it as a tool, just like you were saying. Like I really don't go on it. I tell them that's their responsibility, you know, when they need to go on. And there is every single one of my kids has had a teacher every single year who has forgotten to put grades in. They've gotten a 0 when they didn't deserve a 0. So, and they learn to advocate for themselves. And I just don't make a big deal out of it because their grades are their grades and they own them.
But see, that's what I'm saying. It's not for parents who don't make a big deal. It's something within some children, and other children get wrapped up, and maybe if we give them some sort of pre-rehearsal, pre-education, you know, something to get them to understand this is not going to be the end-all be-all when you get there.
I feel like your child has to learn to advocate for themselves and simply say, my grades are my grades, and I don't really want to talk. My kids are told not to talk about their grades with their friends, and if they choose to and they failed something or they're upset about it, then that's on them.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the child who doesn't talk about their grades to their friends. I'm talking about the child who is. See, what I'm hearing from is I have several people whose parents are teachers. Okay, so we're not talking about people who don't understand. But what's happening is they're coming home and saying, hey, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but apparently we have to do, we have to be checking this every day. And apparently, if we don't get, one of them was, if we don't get straight A's, we don't make honor roll. And I'm like, I don't know about that, and what difference does it make? You know, and then I had another child who was going around and bragging about so much that the other kids were feeling, and I realized this is all child on child, but I also know that there is a stress level that they're coming in with, and that maybe if we can make them understand that going from where grades were not really a big deal, you had to do what you had to do, but now all of a sudden they're comparing, it's not really the way it works either. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
They have access to information they didn't have.
Exactly, it's just too much.
Maybe this is something we can have Mr. Scarano address at one of the PTO meetings. If you think it's important enough to do so, I'd be happy to ask him to. Do that.
Yeah, I mean, and we can even, Mrs. Walker and I we can table this offline, and maybe there's a general discussion that we can have at one of the PIC meetings as well that talks about, you know, the transition from 5th to 6th, because as someone who had a little one who just went from 5th to 6th, I can tell you that it is,
I'll be there whenever you, I have a fifth grader right now, and the teachers they're trying with it.
Yeah, you
They're
go
gonna
back-
get them ready for that 6th grade.
You pray, you go back to church.
Extremely disorganized.
Yeah, you do. Yes.
I have a comment on a different topic. Some parents at our school were asking when park scores were going to be presented. I know it usually happens in October. It didn't happen. Then it was pushed to November, pushed to December, and it was canceled again. So is there a reason that the principals are not presenting the park scores as they traditionally do? And if it's been this delayed, is there something spectacular coming? Or is it going to be the same presentation that we see every time? It's just, you know, we're just curious why it's delayed again.
To the best of my understanding, the information is still embargoed, and as soon as it is no longer, the presentations will be.
And that's embargoed
By the
from-
state.
By the state. So no schools are presenting their park scores in that manner, or just our district?
Yeah, I guess no schools are doing it, Dr. George? There's no information being disseminated?
If the state is not allowing them, does that mean that no schools will be able to present them in the state?
As soon as the data is no longer embargoed, I think.
Do we know why it's embargoed?
Yes.
The state, every time they send us the scores, they embargo them for a short time. Kim gets them, she had to go somewhere. But then at some point they release them, and so they haven't been released.
But we don't know why.
They
didn't say why.
They do this every year. They embargo them,
Validity
and I'm not sure.
reliability,
Yeah,
checking.
checking and
There's
say
a
if
time
there's
frame.
huge errors, you know, they're not
To see if there's errors.
They're not going to change small errors, but anything big, you know, statewide. And then when they're comfortable, then they'll say, okay, you can disseminate that to your.
But typically it's been like October, like that we've gotten the presentation,
It's
right?
been different times.
Okay.
Pat, you're the testing coordinator. Like it's like we've gotten the scores in like January, I think, in the beginning, and then they moved it back and we were getting them. I think we got the scores at the end of November this year.
Yeah, they were coming in earlier from the first time we did it, but I'm not familiar this year because that kind of was.
Yeah, you just do the test, you don't do the But do you remember when they came in last year? I'm not sure when you.
Principals, do you have anything else to add?
Well, typically, mine, since I've been here, has been annually in January
Okay,
for
so
when I
it's
presented.
probably-
So just because of that factor of not knowing when they're going to be on embargo. Yeah.
All right, is there any other old business, new business, anything you guys want to bring up before we break for the holiday? Okay, the coffee's hot, there's stuff to eat. Please feel free. I hope if you celebrate, have a Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate, Happy Holidays. Thank you all very much, I appreciate you. Thank you all for the time that you put into this. And I'll see you in the new year. Take care.
Yeah.